So, virtually all the way from the Lone Star State is singer songwriter Titanic Sinclair. Titanic has been at the forefront of the digital music scene since the early 2010s and has been a part of numerous projects such as Mars Argo and most well known Poppy. Titanic has faced his fair share of controversy in 2018 and 2019, but has since separated from the Poppy project and has taken a new approach to his music as well as his personal life. This past Sunday, the song Blood Money, which he wrote for the Poppy Project, was nominated for a Grammy. And although it didn't win, it was the first song to be nominated for Best Metal Performance with a Female Solo Artist. So without further ado, Mr. Titanic Sinclair.
Hello, thank you for that lovely intro.
No worries. Thank you
I actually
so
didn't.
much.
I didn't know it was the first. What did you say? First female pop solo?
It was the first female solo artist to be nominated in the metal genre.
Did not know that actually.
Yeah,
Huh.
everyone's like talking about it on Reddit and being like, "Feminism, yeah."
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it was a great song, and I'm honestly really bummed
Thanks.
it didn't win. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've been talking a lot on my like YouTube videos about how it's kind of weird to view music as competitive or like as a competition, because of course being nominated to begin with is a crazy honor, but the success, I felt like it was successful when we finished it, and you just sometimes a song gets a life of its own. And that one, it literally, this Moog synthesizer right here, it just started off as like a little thing, and we made a really cool music video for it. And but it's surprising anytime there's attention on one thing, because it's like, if you're someone who makes music or movies or creative things, the body of work, I think, is the baby kind of. So it's like, parents never want to say like which of their children's their favorite. They shouldn't, or so I've been told.
Yes, as we've been told. So to start things off, in the email you sent us, you told us a bit about your relationship with Radio DePaul. Well, not Radio DePaul, but DePaul. And I was wondering, because I want to hear more about this. Would you mind
Mm.
telling us the story behind your relationship with DePaul?
Yeah. So I used to be a Chicago resident, and right about the time when I first moved there, I was of college age, but I was not a college student. But friends of mine were, and a few of them were at DePaul. And so I have vivid memories of riding the Blue Line, and I guess you would say sneaking into the library to hang out. And I felt like I really like the campus because it's like in a city, but it has a campus feel. And I think they just assumed I was a student. And I have to say, like, with all due respect to DePaul, I also pulled this at SAIC and Columbia. And like, I legitimately learned how to develop film at Columbia by sneaking in. And my friends were just like, oh, they're not going to check your ID or whatever. But I mean, this is like over 10 years ago, or I don't know. I'm sure things have probably changed. So, but yeah, I've spent a lot of time. Is that Whole Foods still right there on the corner?
Yes. Yes, it
Okay.
is. And I literally went there in the middle of a thunderstorm because I ran out of ginger ale.
Yeah, yeah. This seems like a familiar tale. Yeah, I remember spending way too much money. We used to call it whole paycheck.
I mean, honestly, I was thinking about even getting a job there just so I could like buy
Yeah,
groceries there at a discount.
I think they have really good benefits, don't they?
I think they do. I mean, I worked at a grocery store in the past, and
Hmm.
but I do not want to deal with Lincoln Park moms for
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like
Lincoln Park moms are a thing. We love them, but I think agree that they're a thing.
They are a very unfortunate thing. And so this next question I have been begged by two people to ask. So over the
Mhm.
years, you have crafted this internet persona that has done, let's just say, a great many things, such as conduct a cult and and sell shirts that say that Titanic Sinclair was
Mm.
mean to me on Twitter, and also
Mhm.
dabbled in subliminal messaging, which is abundantly clear in your website, which has the literal Illuminati triangle as the cursor, which
Oh, yeah.
I won't lie, completely freaked out my radio manager and promotions manager.
Uh,
And so, as per their request, I have to ask, are you a part of the Illuminati? And one of them wants to know if you're the Antichrist. Her words,
oh.
not mine.
Okay. Well, I've never gone on the record in saying it, but I feel like if anyone were to know if the Illuminati was real, it'd probably be me. And unfortunately, I've never received a an introduction to said alleged um, spooky cult. Um, but I will say uh, there are levels of weirdness that do exist, but I think that's just the way the world works. But the Illuminati itself, I don't know. I pretended.
I mean, honestly, that's like where the most fun is, and just like
Mm.
creating this weird little persona and stuff, and just screwing with people. That's probably the best part.
Yeah, especially, I mean, at that time too, you know, it was like, I think I had caught on to, I mean, anytime someone denies it, then the conspiracy theorists are always like, oh, see, it's, and I'm sure someone out there will take that quote and be like, oh, no, you know, but no, I've just always had a fascination with people who are able to be hypnotized by either music or media or um, enthusiastic leaders or figures. And, you know, for me, it seemed like almost like a shortcut or a way to get people interested. And, you know, I think the timing was right too for a lot of that, because on YouTube at that time, there hadn't been like too many people who took that angle. And, it just, the timing I think was right. And it's weird now because after, you know, kind of becoming a free agent, and I am able to work on so many more projects, a lot of people just want that. And it's kind of like, well, it kind of happened already.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna
so
give you
many,
cowboy now.
yeah, yeah. It's so many people have done it though. And, but it's fun, you know, and I always thought, personally, I thought, well, with a lot of things in my life, that it was glaringly obvious, like that it was kind of a joke. But I've since, over the years, I think, come to the realization that anything you put out there, even if if I think it's absolutely silly, there's a good chance that it'll be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've just been doing my best to keep to myself for the most part, outside of talking for like 2 hours a week on YouTube.
And yeah, basically, a large majority of the internet took what Titanic Sinclair said incredibly literally. And basically, they took like the Titanic was mean to me shirts and took
Mm.
them literally. And so I think it's obvious, but just for the record, is Titanic Sinclair a character, a persona, an extension of yourself? Who is he?
Well, I mean, it started off as just a name, and this was also when I was living in Chicago. The reason I moved there is because I got a job. It was like a startup. It was like a digital media startup, and um, the content we were making, I was just I didn't want to put my name on it, and so my friends and I, who I worked with, were like, "Oh, let's just come up with like these ridiculous names." And then about that time, I just started using that name for everything. And, fast forward like 12 years or however long it's been, and it just kind of stuck. But I realized it was very easy to Google. And so for like search engine optimization, it was just kind of convenient. And I was like, well, no one's taken that name. So on pretty much every social media, it was easy for me to get. Now anytime something new comes out, someone already hops on it. But at the time I was kind of like establishing, you know, me as an artist. It was very helpful. But I mean, to answer your question, I think, it's like that classic, like Hollywood, tale of, the artist or the character or the actor actress, and then the character that they portray, like they seem to at some point morph, and the line becomes very blurry in between what is the character, because I mean it's easy just to, and that's kind of a reason why in deciding to just like come clean and just make videos online, I'm like, hey, it's me, everything, giving the magic trick away basically. It's hard because you kind of have to avoid the thing of saying like, oh yeah, like all the unfortunate things that have happened, like I can just blame that on a character. But the truth is, it's a blurry line, and especially at the time when I was really going at it. And I mean, I do feel bad about it now, but I would just go after like any like famous singer who had a very active fan base. I would just kind of pick one, like not knowing anything about them or the fans, and I would just like troll them and just say like, oh hey, you copied me or whatever. Just knowing like, well, now thousands of people are gonna just pay attention, and it's it's playing with fire for sure. And at the time I think I was much more immature than I hopefully am now. And when they turn on you, that's when it's like it becomes very, that's when you just disappear from the internet for a year.
Yeah, thank God you never like went after BTS, because God bless you. You would
Yeah,
never be able to resurface again from the
that was
stands.
about when they started to really kind of bubble up. That's kind of when I stopped with that. Because really, like once I turned 30, I think there was a part of me that was like, all right, hey, like you're like an old man now. Like you can't like keep pretending you're like 15 years old on social media, and just because you think it's funny and your friends laugh at it. But so luckily I missed the BTS army. But I can say I'm happy to see them being represented, especially in the States, because for the longest time, I think a lot of like, especially like Asian pop music was not given the time of day. And now to see it explode, it's like, oh, cool. Like finally,
Yeah. It's literally just everywhere now. And so sort of building off of different like weird kind of music styles, your music style is constantly evolving. At the beginning of your career, I would say it was like Weezer style punk, and
Mm-hmm.
then it became bubblegum pop at the beginning with the poppy era, and
Yeah.
then somehow it's went to electronica and then to new metal, and now it's country. And so how are you able to consistently write like good music for all these like different
Mm.
genres?
Well, I think the greats were all able to do that. And I mean, even if you look at the Beatles, like one could probably argue that some of the stuff on like Rubber Soul, for example, you've got this British band from Liverpool, and they're really implementing kind of like a folk movement. And they even like covered like Act Naturally, was like an old country cover. And so they kind of were able to pull it off. But when they did it, it didn't really sound like country. And so um, when I made the decision to leave LA and go to Texas, kind of to, I think, just like excite myself and pump myself up to make the move and like immerse myself in it. It was to like familiarize myself with the music that's come out of Texas. And I try to do that anywhere I visit. Just like I'm going to Manchester, like I'm just going to only listen to Manchester bands on the way there. And so what I realized in doing that, I ended up watching like a lot of like interviews with classic country and Western artists. And I heard a quote somewhere along the lines, and they said that country music is three chords and the truth. And that one sentence was like, oh, wow, like I kind of want to make a whole album like inspired by that. And though I use the term like country loosely, to me, like, you know, alternative country, I guess, is kind of what it is. But it's more so like putting a little lap steel guitar in there, but keeping like the what made all of the classic country great, which I do believe is like three chords and the truth. And after making all of these like electronic albums and making an entire album in Tokyo and then the new metal stuff and everything in between, that was all just kind of whatever gear was around me. And usually the music I make is influenced by what I'm trying to learn with music at that time. And in this case, when I first came to Texas, I didn't really have any of my equipment, and I had to buy, and it was during quarantine too. So I had to like order online just like an acoustic guitar, and that's kind of all I had. And, but I felt so inspired to make an album that I ended up just writing so many songs, just using only like a couple chords and the truth. And, I think that that's reflected. I've only released two of the songs from that album up until this point, but it's a very fun album, and it is kind of all over the place. But there's a consistent theme, and I think it's because they were all just written just on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, definitely. Listening to the newer songs, even Scorpio, it just
Mm,
feels like it's a lot more, I guess, sincere in a sense that it sounds
mm,
a lot more like a person singing from their heart as
right.
opposed to something more provocatorish, I guess.
Yeah, there's a especially when the image, you know, um, because it's really hard actually to write a sincere song when you have this image as, you know, or the people that you're writing with have this image of, you know, it's, you know, evil and Illuminati and because I don't think anyone wants to hear like a sappy love song from like a cult. Well, maybe someone does, but it's kind of one of those things like the freedom in not having to adhere to like a guideline, um, or like a fake version of me or a fake version of another artist. It was just very kind of just very freeing. And I hope that that's received by the people who listen to it, because there was almost like a giant weight off of my shoulders as far as songwriting goes, to just be like, hey, you know what? Because I was very insecure about making like pop songs, because I would consider like Scorpio, I mean, it is just a pop song to me. And it was written as that, like not thinking I would ever be the one to perform it or record it. Um, but it was just so much fun, and it just happened so fast. And I was like, I should probably put this out. And I'm glad I did, because that one's, people seem to like it, which makes me happy.
Yeah, definitely. And sort of building off about what you said about being sort of free in a sense, with all your new music constantly changing, I've been featuring your music on my show for a long time, and I've
Oh,
always
thank
been
you.
no problem. Marzargo, Poppy, your solo stuff, I featured a ton of it, but
Thank you.
no problem. But My show's on microgenres, and I've always had a hard time figuring out what in the world would your microgenre even be? Like, we have
Mm.
vaporwave and bardcore and sea shanties and all these weird little things popping up everywhere. But you're constantly experimenting, and so it's so hard to kind of just settle on a microgenre. So if you were able to make your own microgenre, what would it be called? What would it be like? And bonus points if you can tell me any artists that would be in it with you.
Oh, actually, that's a very good question. The first thing that came to mind um, would be overproduced bedroom pop, because I think now, and this is just purely because of where technology is. You know, I would never compare myself to Billie Eilish, because I think her and her brother are on a completely different level, which is beyond me. But we're in the age now of bedroom pop. No one really goes to the studio anymore. The only reason you go to the studio is to get like a cool Instagram photo to make it look like you're in the studio. And it's like every time I've been in one of those rooms, it's like the classic, you're in LA and it's this crazy studio and they're like, this is Stevie Wonder recorded here and this and that. And then it's got the giant board, and then the entire day you're just on a laptop. Like, you could literally do it anywhere. And now, because home recording and home studios, and that's something that Billie Eilish has like absolutely mastered. It's the line is very blurry in what even bedroom pop is, because now there's is it Claro? Have you heard Claro?
I've heard of it, yeah.
I think maybe you would, one may place her music into the bedroom pop category. But I think just the entire idea of a bedroom being the studio, there's an inherent intimacy to it. And I never felt comfortable in all the big studios. I was always looking at my watch and anxious, and just always really kind of thinking like, why don't we just record at home? And that's where I'm absolutely the most comfortable to. That's where I have always done all of my solo stuff. And so, yeah, maybe somewhere, some kind of a bedroom, bedroom pop. But I think it's key to that. It's hopefully overproduced, because bedroom kind of implies lo-fi, and I love big, epic production,
Extravagance. Yeah, it kind
big
of
time.
reminds me of Jack Stauber in a way. And I was thinking about
Mm,
possibly, because some of like the melodies and synths you use in some of your
mm.
songs reminds me of him. Of course, you have, I would say, more of a Weezer voice, and his
Oh
is
yeah,
more comparable to a bungee cord, I guess you could say, with the
accurate.
highs and lows he goes through. But I
Yeah,
feel like at the core, like the style kind of is similar to yours.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah. So for years now, you have been uploading videos telling the world to delete their Facebook, a
Mm.
suggestion that honestly has aged quite well. And so I must ask, have you deleted your Facebook?
Oh, years ago. I wasn't just saying it. Yeah, that was maybe 11 years ago. Um, which has actually kind of been a bit of a detriment, because since then they've acquired Instagram, and now whenever I have any sort of issues, there's no way to get help. Like, if I get like locked out or something, like I don't know how I'm supposed to. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but that, at the time, that was a very controversial thing to say, and I have to laugh, as Facebook kind of became like the.
Monster.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially over the past. I mean, we're talking. I deleted it so long ago. We've gone through multiple elections, and I just completely skirted that whole thing. And so I feel like it's maybe put a couple of years back onto my life that maybe with other crippling things in my life, it balances itself out. It's like, well, at least you deleted your Facebook.
So, for as long as I can remember, your trademark style has been the overexposed, overproduced short videos
Mm,
with usually a person repeating a phrase in a creepy fashion or doing something nonsensical with
mm,
ambient music and occasionally a mannequin or a plant. And
yes.
so, flash forward to your newer videos, you're just sitting down in a darkened room, just discussing current topics or stories from your life in a very
Mm,
intimate, down to earth way, in contrast to the more condescending and like afar and kind of alien videos from
mm.
your past. So, what inspired this stark departure?
Well, I did almost 1,000 of those other videos in total. And at a certain point, it's kind of like, okay, I think we got that out of our system. Um, and what I've kind of found, after going through a couple of like controversies where, I always kind of, uh, it's like, hey, if the world wants to believe, this about me, like that's their decision, and no matter what I say, um, it's their mind's probably going to be made up, and that's okay. People will believe whatever they want to believe, and kind of the I think the point that we're at in the world right now, um, as content itself, with TikTok videos being only seconds long, and so much of what's being digested on a mass scale is just this micro content. I kind of look at it and it's like, well, I mean, I've been doing that for so long and it works, I guess. And to me, it was just really easy to do and just an easy way to get people riled up or interested, just to get views, basically. And I mean, after, spending a year, like just really reassessing my entire life, um, and saying like, okay, I know I still want to keep creating. What's something I haven't done, and what's something I'm terrified of, and you know, will help me to kind of work through um, years of not talking about life, and in a weird way, it's almost like therapy in a very strange way. And I didn't know what therapy was like until only a couple of years ago. And I remember feeling almost ripped off at first. I'm like, wait, so you just talk? And almost in a way, it's like, well, I can just do this on YouTube. But I mean, that's obviously different because the platform and the way that I've chosen or I've decided to make these new videos, um, it's I don't want to ever have it be a platform where it's like I'm calling anyone out or anything like that, because it's just it's not a good look and it doesn't help anyone. And so I think if I can do it in a way that's kind of more like storytelling and um I don't know, give examples, because a lot of people who enjoy the things that I've made, they're also musicians or painters or songwriters. And if I can say, hey, here's some stuff that happened, and I have seen a lot of stuff, especially in that industry, in that realm, if I can tell in a story, like this is why this happened, or this is why that happened, and do it in a way that's um, not condescending, hopefully, and just from the heart, um, that makes me kind of feel good about Well, at least, I learn from these things. And if there's a way I can help someone else avoid these giant, painful mistakes, then I've at least hopefully done my part.
Yeah, definitely. And listening to them, it's just, I don't know, there's something about that's so calming. Maybe it's like the dark
Mm,
surrounding, but it's also just, again, like more intimate, and
mm,
it's really personalized you as, well, humanized, like
mm,
your persona, because for so long you were that jerk on the internet. And so it's
yeah.
great just seeing that down to earth side of you. So speaking
Mm,
of the industry, the big news is that you are now a Grammy nominated writer. And this is incredible, and something that's somewhat an anomaly for you, because for years you have criticized Hollywood and the pop music industry in your music and videos. And
yeah.
so what so
Trust
so
me, the irony was definitely alive and well with the group chats of all my friends. Like,
you did it.
yeah, it's thanks. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's because the joke for the longest time was just this kind of meta, um, overly cynical critique of the entire system. And yeah, I guess like a Grammy nomination is maybe like the pinnacle of that. And I don't know. I had to laugh about it, especially after um, it was almost like a band breaking up,
Yeah.
and that's always a bummer. And so to have that kind of it was bittersweet, I guess you would say, but pretty amazing that we took it that far.
Yeah, it was honestly crazy, especially as someone who's been following this project from the very beginning, seeing it
Mm,
start out as weird videos of this girl in this void
mm,
just repeating "I'm Poppy" over and over again, and then seeing like
mm.
PewDiePie cover it, all these YouTubers
That
cover
was
it,
crazy. Yeah.
and now it's at the Grammys, and it's like a legitimate artist now. And it's
Yeah.
just insane seeing how much it's grown.
Yeah, there's, I think maybe in the future, it's hard to say because it's hindsight's always 2020. But I think probably at some point in the future, if anything, I think our contribution to pop culture um, can maybe be looked at as uh, like a case study on my goal from the beginning was to see if I could cross the boundary of YouTube star to like legitimate, because there was always that, and still there kind of is a stigma. It's like, oh, they're a YouTuber, and for some reason there's this. It's getting less and less as the years go on, but um, certainly when that project started, there was a huge stigma, and all these people from YouTube would get signed to record deals and just like immediately get dropped because I don't know why. And so it was a very big goal of mine to be like, no, like, this isn't just a YouTuber. Like, we're going to do the fashion shows and we're going to do like cinematic, real deal music videos, not just, our friend who's our video person, and take it really, really over the top visually, even down to the content videos themselves, like to shoot them in a studio and pay attention to light and, again, overproduce them. Cause that wasn't something that I had seen, at least at that time. And, I guess you could say it worked, but, um, it's life just continues to get weirder and weirder.
Yeah, curiouser and curiouser. And I feel
Mm,
like that definitely has worked because you have artists like Jasmine Bean now
mm,
coming up and all these different artists getting a ton of recognition from
yeah,
like the main, well, not really mainstream. She's not really mainstream, but alternative outlets are really
yeah,
paying attention to that stuff now. And
yeah.
so, yeah, we're coming up near the end of the interview, but my
Mm,
last really big question is something that I feel like a lot of people have been wondering. And so, the first song you released after you split from the Poppy Project was Broken Boy with a chorus
mm,
that says, I'm sorry for the way I behaved, but I'm not sorry for the man I became.
mm.
You've talked about this sort of and hinted throughout the interview, but if you could, is there anything you wish you could tell your past self, the past Titanic in like 2015, that you know now?
Oh, that is a wonderful question. Um, the first thing that comes to mind, and this will not be my official answer, but this will be for the first part, is get everything in writing. That's the many years of spending lots of money on attorneys. um, but I think in general, if I could, how many years were you saying?
Pretty much like going back from Mars Argo, I guess, since that was kind of the start of your internet journey.
Mm. If I were to say one thing to myself, my younger self, at the beginning, I would say, don't take yourself so seriously and learn how to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful considering everything that you've gone through and everyone has pretty much gone through in the
Mm,
2018 and 2019 and even all the way back is that I feel like that
mm,
definitely takes a lot of growth to really admit that. And so I
mm.
think that definitely that time off has really paid off for you. Definitely.
I hope so. Yeah. And I truly do, when you're in the middle of kind of one of those things, it's just a vortex and you've got all these people telling you what you should do and this and that. And um, it's why I feel bad now when I see people going through it, which seems to be happening all the time. Someone's going through some kind of crazy controversy because everyone just has access to everyone. And I mean, really, just if everyone would just take a deep breath and slow down and, just be like, hey, life is way too short to get so worked up over, you know, Hollywood stuff. At least in my case, like there are, not to sound sappy, but like there's children starving. And I just think about the times when I got so wrapped up in whatever situation I was in, thinking like I hadn't realized at that point that like the world doesn't revolve around me and the stuff that I make. There are so many bigger things that could use everyone's attention. And what those are, I don't know, and I don't know how to fix them, but at least I'm definitely working on trying to figure out how I can make some sort of change for the better.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm honestly really excited to see what those next steps are because I feel like you're already doing such a great job with your YouTube, your sort of
Thank you.
change in YouTube media, as well as the more, I guess, positive songs that are really
Mm,
sincere and truthful.
mm,
And so I'm really excited for this new era of Titanic Sinclair. And so I'm wondering,
thank
are
you.
there any besides the album, which I'm hoping will come out very soon because I will
Mm.
buy it on vinyl as soon as it's out on vinyl.
Oh, thanks.
I have my little vinyl collection over there
Oh,
and
I
I
loved hearing
yeah,
that.
I love vinyl. Um
Cool.
so are there any new additions coming up on the horizon?
Just a lot of really fun songs, which I've just been holding back for so long. Just, I always knew I had this inner like disco fever
Yes.
dancer.
Yes.
um, and I was really happy last night in the Grammys to see how much like disco influence was kind of going on, because I thought with this new album, I mean, I'm kind of giving away a little bit, but the first half of Texas Dream, the new album, is very, very country and laid back, sentimental. But the second half is like dance party,
70s rave.
bell bottoms. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely then need to buy a pair of bell bottoms for my thrift store before I listen to the second half.
They'll come in handy.
Yes, definitely. um, so, for those who are missing out for some reason on hearing about new singles and updates, what is the best way to stay connected with you and your upcoming projects?
Just on Titanic Sinclair on all this stuff. YouTube.com/Titanic Sinclair and Instagram.com/Titanic Sinclair are probably the best places.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Titanic, for coming onto the show. And up
Thank
next,
you.
we oh, no problem. Up next, we have Titanic's latest single and probably my favorite song he has released thus far. We Danced All Night.